Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Wherever you are, welcome back to my cake kitchen. Dawn, welcome. I hope you had a good weekend. We are back, and we are back to the tutorial based videos again, because last week we had a chat session. The summer and the spring is worse for me because of the flies. Ignore me. I just cannot. I don't know where they come from, but they just, if I see a fly, I have to ward it off one way or another. So just ignore me if I'm looking all crazy chasing after a fly over here. But if you're just joining us, hello there. I hope you had a great weekend. We are back to tutorial based videos, but hopefully it should be a calm, settled, easy going. I'm going to try and pace it so that I can try and keep I'm going to be fighting flies in my kitchen. That's just that one fly that's like, oh God. Okay, I'm just going to let it be. Okay, I don't know if I should open the window for it to go away. Okay, let me stop fighting with the fly here. Oh, Dawn has been invaded with ants. So okay, right, I'm not the only one then. All right, join the club of people who just don't like these invaders when the summer comes, right? I'm looking forward to the summer, but hey, now what are we doing? If you can see this, you can take a guess. The hope is that we can create a car cake. It is something I have always wanted to do, but not brought myself to doing it because it involves a few moving parts and it is quite technical to do. But I thought instead of just, I have some scrap cake, and instead of just chucking it out, I'm just going to try and will myself to get it done. And more especially, I'm going to do it in a very beginner friendly way so that at least it brings you some tips to help you. So this is the prep. So probably when I go back to optimizing the description box, this will be the car cake tutorial part 1. And then we'll see how many parts before we have a car. So what is this doing here and what is that doing here? You will see what all that is all about. But yeah, if you're just joining us, we're prepping for a car cake tutorial. I don't think I have come across, in my research, I haven't come across a detailed tutorial that takes you from the start to finish of a car cake. So hopefully this is something that will be of some use to you. I can see Tatiana in the chat. There is Dawn in the chat. All of you who are stopping by this morning, thank you. Tatiana, how are you, my love? And how is life treating you? So the essence of this, you're going to see what I'm going to use it for. Let me see. There's not really one way of making a car cake, right? There's not. I think the principles or the blueprint remains the same, but there's not one particular way to get a car cake done. And I am just trying to make it more achievable for myself, especially for someone who is just doing it for the very first time. So this, what is it called? It has a name. It's just escaped me. Of course, that's not going to be the car, if you like. But what I am trying to do is just because I have it lying around. Polystyrene, okay. What I'm trying, you will see what I am going to use it for. The good thing though is that it doesn't, unlike some of them, it doesn't fly everywhere. This is quite solid, if you like. So you'll see. There are so many ways to make the car cake, and it does involve many tools. And I'm not a tool person at all. I mean, if it comes to it and I need to use a tool, I will. Like, I've been using this little hacksaw here to cut this up. I have other basic tools that Let's see. Okay, and then I think instead of telling you what I'm going to use it for, I'm just going to go ahead and show you instead. So just bear with me. Let me, because this is just going to be the prep. I am hoping I can just get the prep done and then you'll see. It doesn't have to be perfect or anything, but having it aligned. Having it aligned will be helpful. Okay. Right. Now, let me try and measure this beneath the... Okay. You'll see. I need to cut a bit more of it. I could have cut this very simply, Glad. Why did I just take all this time? Okay. Yeah. So essentially, I just wanted to put this underneath the car to give it a lift over the surface so that when we come to put in the tires, the car will look like it is suspending a bit. I hope that kind of makes sense. Of course, for some tutorials, the car is sat right on the board, depending on what car it is. But I am just going for a car that some of them you will see is either on the board. Some ones are suspended on the metal, as in metal or woodwork that lifts the car. All of those like require tools that I just think as a beginner, just make things super friendly for yourself. Now, if you don't have polystyrene, the reason why I went for polystyrene is because I have a sheet of it lying around. It came as part of a package of items that I bought. If you don't have it, you can go to your hardware store or DIY shop and pick yourself some wood slabs, if you like, and put them together. Just a simple wood slab lying around will still do the same thing. Or you can put some square cake, small square cake cards or cake boards, anything that will give you a lift. Some people dowel the corners of the board, the baseboard, and then set the cake on it. The reason why I've opted to not do that is because that requires precision. So again, like I said, the intention is to make it so beginner friendly and achievable, and I'm just employing the tricks that will work for me. Okay, this polystyrene is gone everywhere now. 1 second. The next thing is to show you how to get this to stick properly. And for the board itself, I've just placed the board over something else so that, okay, there you go. And so to stick this onto the board, what I have is a glue gun. I told you I am trying to make this beginner friendly for myself. So I have a glue gun here. That's what I am going to employ to help me do this. Right, this is a small glue gun, like sometimes 3D cakes, like making a proper 3D cake. Can you see the stuff that it requires? But hey, we are committed now, we can't go back, so let's get on to it. Okay, I am probably the worst person when it comes to the use of glue guns. Okay, I am not great at using them. I find them, unless it's a big one, and I don't know how I ended up with a small one like this one. So let's see how that will work for us. Probably to get it to stick properly, I'm going to just sand off the surface a little bit here. And in all of this, is the glue gun on? Yes, it is on. Okay, I'm just... See? When people say, oh, it's just cake. Can you see? You have to be an engineer. You have to do stuff. Okay, let's see. I have done that. So let's see if we can... I need a glue stick. Okay, let's see. Okay, I think I need a... all right. Yeah, but the thing with glue guns are that if you're not careful, they don't melt up properly, because I don't want something that would come off. I'm just trying to stick this on, nothing to see here. Okay. Okay, see, I told you. Give me a round cake to make any day, but you see, a round cake is easy to make. It's easy. Let's... okay, let's give it time for it to melt. When working with glue gun, you should be very, very, very careful. I'll just leave that for now. And then I'm just going to go to the back and wrap that together a bit. I mean, if this was a customer cake, I would line the top of this. Okay. Oh, okay. So I was acting too quickly then. All right. Okay. Okay. I think my little intention has been achieved. Okay. It hasn't yet. Okay, I just wanted the car at an angle instead of sitting straight. So there you go. Something tells me this will move before I finish, but that's the base of the car. So the polystyrene that I cut, can you see? It's just giving the car a little bit of a lift. So we'll see how that affects the design. And essentially that's the base of the car. But considering I am making this out of scrap cake, I need to go get the scrap cake and also start working to see that scrap, see what the scrap cake is like. But at least the base on which the car is set is done. So we have that. Something tells me I will need to come and redo this. Okay, I told you. Okay, let's get this on. And whilst the glue gun is heating up, I'm just going to go and pick up get the scrap cake. And yes, if you wonder how this is going to be a car cake, I wondered so too. But it's not the first time we've made magic happen, so don't worry, you will see it all happen. So just be patient, have faith, and trust the process. Okay? This is a kind of trust the process kind of thing. Okay. Okay. All right. I think this is set now. All right. So the base of our car is done. And I think we need to go back in and trim some bits off so it doesn't interfere. There you go. So that's the base of the car, and we'll leave that on the side now. Clear up the workspace, and then we'll move on to kind of sorting the scrap cake for the car. It doesn't look like it now, I know, but trust the process, all right? And if you're just joining us and you're wondering what we're doing, we are trying to make magic happen. Magic that you probably doubt right now, but if you stick around long enough, you'll see it come to fruition. Let me just get all of this out of the way. Did I promise to talk to you? I sure did. So if you're just joining us, hello there. Thank you for stopping by. All right. This is back in time. And that goes back here. All done. Now, I think I'm going to need the phone to charge the little phone here. Let's put this to charge the secondary screen. Okay, whilst that is charging, we have scrap cake. But before we do anything on the scrap cake, I'm going to put some gloves on because I have a cut on my finger here. Now you've seen me work on scrap cakes and done quite a few things with scrap cakes, and this is no different. This is some cakes from the cake scraps I carved from the Valentine's order that went out, amongst a few other things. So I just mixed them together. If they weren't so crusty, or if my freezer wasn't full, I would save them and make desserts with them. But this is one way to use up cake for tutorials and educational purposes. So I don't think, because if I didn't have scrap cakes, I would then have to bake a whole cake for this tutorial, and I don't think I fancy that very much. So I am just going to be reusing the cake and buttercream that I have already. I have some green buttercream that I left sitting down. So I'm going to mix that in. Consistency of what I'm mixing is really key, because you want to make sure that the consistency is very clay-like, so that I can come back and carve it into the car cake. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm just mixing cake with buttercream, that's all. And the cake is a mixture of different flavors. You have chocolate, red velvet, and a bit of vanilla in there. So I'm just mixing that in so I can get some form to them. And this is the base of cake pop mix. If people make cake pops, this is what you want. So there's really no measurement to this. It's just eyeballing it. I am just feeling it for consistency. If I can mold it like clay, that's what I need. But you want to make sure that the buttercream doesn't overwhelm the cake, because for maybe up to 2 portions of the size of your cake pop mix, you need 1 bit of buttercream. Because if the buttercream is too much, your 3D object will deform. The buttercream I'm using here is a 1:1 ratio, so it's very thick. But ideally you should use ganache, because ganache will set solid and will help you keep form. So that's a tip for you. I am taking out all my anger issues on this cake right here. Let's see. I have an 8 by 8 inch pan, so I'm going to press the cake mix into the pan, because then I can take it out, cut it into shape, and then set it on the car. That's the plan I intend, because if I had cake, then I would be cutting the shape of the car from some sort of shape, whole shape if you like. So I'm just trying to replicate that in cake form using the pop mix here. The good thing though is that if you're using this method, at least for the prep, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I have just used the paper so that it's easy to pick up if I want to. just going to stuff that back in here. That sounds like my alarm that is telling me I've got somewhere to be, but not today. Okay, there you go. Okay, at least we have a full 8-inch 8-inch square sort of cake here. Right, I just want to get the shape in here right, just so that I don't have to do the hard work later. So we'll get this, we'll press it in just to get the surface level. Okay, and if you're wondering what that looks like, here's what we've got. It just seems like we've got a nicely shaped cake, yeah. And so if I take that out now, we've gone from just cake that didn't mean anything to a very nicely set cake. At this point, it will make sense to leave this in the fridge to set completely before you cut into it. But if I did that, cutting into it will be very hard. So what I am intending to do is to try and split it, right, so that I can use that. So essentially, if this was a fully baked cake, this is the shape I would need for my car cake. So I've just cut that into two. Let's try and see what we'll get out of here. Look at me and my work. The work surface is a bit tight, so please bear with me. And then with some buttercream on the base, just a little bit. I want to be careful here because look, I have lost some of the cake, but it's fine. Right, so now I know, push this on the back. The thing with molded cake is that you can do whatever you want with it. So I'm just putting some buttercream here. And then I'm going to cut some of this cake, put it here. Okay. Yep. Yep. And then some over there. And so we've got the first layer of cake now. And now I know I need a second layer to top that off. Can you see how I got to making a car cake with scrap cake? Don't worry, a bit of imagination never hurt nobody. Okay? Just try and use your imagination, people. Just imagine it working. And that's all you need. Look, it's working. Is it? Okay. A bit more here. Just to get it right. And so if this was a fully formed cake, you want to make sure it's all level. You fill it with buttercream, but this isn't. So we're just going to form our own perfectly formed square slab of cake from that. And don't forget, we will be carving this, so it's not exactly an issue. This is our cake. We do what we want. Okay, look. I'm not going to fill this with buttercream, remember? Because it's scrap cake. Okay. That is sheet 1 done. We're going to make the next sheet. Do you have some faith in this? You think? Okay, so we will need the entire scrap cake. And if it's not enough, don't worry, we have more scrap cake. I find this process quite exhilarating, you know. But it also requires some very advanced techniques that sometimes I'm not even sure of myself. But we are here now. No going back now. Okay, there you go. Get back to scrap cake pot. Let's go back here. Okay, that is getting somewhere. We'll move that out of the place. And Auntie J is back. We are back to crazy town again, where we do the craziest things that you can't imagine with scrap cake. So if you're here for surprises and crazy, you're welcome. Okay, we're back again. So now we go back to mixing. We'll stuff and then we'll go and layer. And if we need more scrap cake, I've got more cake. Don't you worry. I'm getting all my scrap cake from the work table, yeah. And so we've got ourselves a mixture, and that's all the scrap cake we have. I feel super excited when I see the end of scrap cake because I save a lot of them and they sit and they take space in my fridge and I hate it. So when I can see my scrap cake being put to use, I am sort of excited about that. Okay, my people are back. Right. I woke up today and decided that I wanted to do something different. So here we are. I am trying to make magic happen out of okay, let's see. I can see in the chat, Dolly is asking, what are you doing? I'm trying to make a car cake, and yes, it doesn't look like it because your crazy sister woke up and decided that she would choose violence and and things that don't look like they should be. But we'll get there. I have scrap cake, so I decided, why not? Why not? So here we are. We are using the scrap cake, and the length I have gone to mold this scrap cake for use as a car cake is just like, I'm looking at me like, Glad, you're sure about this one? But yeah, because what choice do we have? Can you people notice that I love like molding cake? I do, because you know what, quite frankly, I feel like as a beginner, molding your 3D shape is handier and easier to achieve than if you had to hand carve it, because hand carving is a lot of technique, and even though I am okay with it, I just love the feeling of molding cake. So I don't know about you, but maybe you should mold cake a bit more, okay? Because then you can pinch, feel, do whatever you want. I like watching, maybe a little secret, open secret about me. I like watching people mold stuff on the internet, like people who mold realistic stuff on the internet. And it's a genre, very popular. So let's see. Now I feel like I can see the form of the car coming together, but we are not done yet. I think I should have gone and been a clay artist because I have made my own cake clay. Okay, there you go. All right. If you can't see what I'm doing, all I'm doing is I'm molding the form so that I can carve it into the shape of a car, but not yet. Now that I've formed the shape, I need to let this chill completely so that it's set, because right now if I carve it, it will just tear the bits away. I think we are going to need more scrap cake. So whilst this set, I will fix some more scrap cake for later. For now though, let's see how tall this stands. It looks a lot like ground beef. Okay. Maybe a car made from ground beef. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Okay. Okay, there you go. All right. I need to get there we go. Let's see how tall it stands. It's about 3.5 inches high with the height, obviously, and stands the length is about 10 inches. So that's fair. Now let's wipe it over and leave it to set, and that will be the first part of our car cake all done. This, like I said, this requires some very advanced techniques because I want to try as much as possible to make it look close to a realistic 3D car cake. Now the approach I have taken means that this car is completely open to interpretation. It doesn't have to be a particular car, it just has to be a car. Okay, so at this point in time, I don't know if I want to make it into a people's carrier. I want to make it into a very slick classic car. I am not sure. I just want to go with what I am completely comfortable with, and then from there I can go and create variations in later tutorials or future tutorials if I'm okay with it. Look at my work table. My work table is a mess. Okay, let's wipe the work table first, and then we will bring the look at my work table. Okay, now let's wipe the work table. I did put in the community post, right, that for those of you who saw the last video, I think thank you all for the feedback. I think the video has landed very well, and frankly, that is the intention, to make videos that serve you. It takes a lot of time to make the long form content. I mean, the lives are just for the fun that we have, but long form videos do take a lot of commitment. So it's great to know that at least it is what you want to see. And I did put in the community post, once I just posted a guide of what it looked like. There were questions about substitutions of ingredients. Let's put that one second. There were questions about substitution of ingredients and the base price of a cupcake, I think, and stuff like that. So we can talk about it before the session is over. But in the meantime, let's bring our ground beef back. Right, let's. Yeah, our ground beef is back. Okay, there you go. So essentially, that's our car cake. We are not anywhere near to having a car cake yet, but of course, if we were making this from a pre-baked cake, you will have to measure, cut, and then stack it together, leave it to set before you start the carving process. So this process is still going to mimic as close as possible to the carving. I will say though, because car cakes are not my expertise, I am learning this. I have a realistic car here. We are not making a police car, because if I had my edible printer, I would probably consider making a replica of this car just to bring you along the process. But my edible printer is broken, and this part of the car cake would require the use of edible printing, and I don't have that. I don't have the police logo. So what I have then decided to do is to just have this as a physical representation of what I want to do, but not perhaps even make it as this car. I still want the back of the car to be like a people's carrier, like a long SUV, if you like, instead of a police car. So this is like a physical representative guide for me, but this is not the car we are going for. And so the intention to re-represent the car is actually just something for you to see. So this is the car that helped me. This is actually my son's car. So this is the car that has helped me and guided me to kind of make the choices in terms of the size. And if you want to make a car cake, naturally you want to find a blueprint, scale it up, and then work with it. I am not good at the scaling because much of what I do is very imaginative. I have to almost like see the process mentally. And so the numbers and the scaling is a little bit harder for me. That is something I have to learn and grow from, and you will see. So if you're new to 3D objects, you don't necessarily have to get the real 3D object. You can pick, like, one of the tips that I'll give you as a beginner, if you want to make a car, go to your local charity shop where people dispose children's toys. You can pick them for next to nothing, and they are fairly sizable. Like, you will find different car shapes for less than £2 or a maximum of £5. And to have something so physical that actually helps guide the process is way better, because I think the thing that confuses me about the scaling is that when you see the blueprint of a car online, there are so many lines and there are so many measurements, and for me that is very confusing. And the goal is to be able to cut through the friction and the tension so that I can achieve my goal. So the purposes of remaking some of these tutorials for the first time here is to inspire you, so that you know that you can be great at something and still be new at another thing. Right? So can I make a cake? Of course. You've seen me make cakes here. Do I have a certain level of confidence and expertise? Of course. But I'm not good with everything when it comes to cakes. And 3D cakes are still, there are some 3D cakes that I can completely excel at, and there are some I have to approach with humility. And so the process is to actually inform and inspire you and bring you along the process, so you can see what it looks like trying something for the first time. I can see in the chat, Dolly put in there, she's going to be making her first Dior bag. You know, these are not the type of cakes that a person actually wakes up and practices every day. Of course, if you can find the time to practice long before the day comes, then that will be great. But there will always be a cake that will be a first time for you, even as a professional. And what you have to rely on is your confidence and expertise from previous work, and then challenge yourself to achieve. And most of the time you'll find out that challenging yourself is the thing that will break new ground for you. So as a beginner, as a beginner, my tip for you will be, if you're trying a 3D object for the first time, go to your local charity shop and shop for the particular item, just so that you can physically have it as a guide for yourself if you can. But of course, if you can find a replica thing online, as in the blueprint, because for me the blueprint, like cutting it up, I have to scale it, I have to print it, and then I have to attach it for the carving. And mentally I can't see it. It confuses me. It makes me panic. That's how serious it feels for me. But having the car here means that, well, maybe having the car is what has informed my choice of a car. And if I didn't have this sort of SUV, police SUV here, I would go and shop for a different car, because that will be the intention I want to approach a car cake with. Because fun fact, when I first started cake making, I tried a car cake, and boy, oh boy, if the big producer was here, he will tell you that it was a hell of a mess. Okay, it was a mess. So this is my redo, but even better. So my goal here is to kind of use this car as a guide. And in terms of height, I think we are almost there, because like I said, I'm not making the exact car. We are not making the police car. We are using the police car as a guide, but I am, instead of making this into that, okay, what I am hoping to do is, actually, I could just make it into a black car like this without making it look like the police car. But the sizing of the car is okay. So we'll see. I will need a bit more. Scrap cake to fill the top so that the height is okay, so I can carve it and then get the shape and everything else. But at least we can see where we are going, okay? And this is what we are aiming to use. And then hopefully, I am hoping I can, I don't know if I want to take it apart, because I don't know how my son will feel about it. But ideally, if I took it apart, I want to replicate the tires into a mold. And anyway, that's all my problem. I'm sort of thinking out loud, but yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So there you go. So we've got it here, you can see. This goes to the fridge to set, and then it will come back later. But before I put it in the fridge, let's move on to what we were talking about. Okay, let's see. There are questions in the chat that I have missed. Okay, let's see. I'm just going back to catch up. Right, Dolly is making the Dior bag cake with the money on top. Well, I have no doubt, girl, you will be fine over there. So good luck. All right. Then I was asking, is it leftover red velvet and chocolate? Yeah, it's a mix of cake, scrap cake that I had lying around, and decided to mix it together with some buttercream. Ideally, if you're a beginner who wants to try this method, go for ganache, because ganache will set solid, and carving it using a warm knife, when you put the knife in warm water, will help you get the shape right. Using buttercream can be a little bit crumbly, because buttercream is very soft, but the buttercream I have here was specifically made for flowers, so it's very thick, and so the consistency will help me when I set it. But for a beginner, I would say use ganache if you go for this method. Yeah, Auntie Jackie was also asking if I made the base it's sitting on, or I bought it. I made the base. I just wanted to approach this from, I don't want to do anything other than use the resources I already have. So the board, one second, I've got this. The board on which it's sitting is an MDF cake board that I have left sitting there for a very long time. And to elevate the cake, normally, if you watch car tutorials, you will find that the cake is doweled at 4 points and the baseboard sat on it and then all of that. I didn't go for that option because I did explain earlier that that option requires precision and it requires too many tools. And I really don't fancy having to bother myself with tools and different things. So what I did was I have a polystyrene, a flat polystyrene base, and I cut. If you go back to the start of the video, you will see how we got here. So I cut the polystyrene base, stacked it up a little bit, and then set the board on it using a glue gun. So that's where we are. So now we need to go and set this completely, and then I will be making some more kit pop mix for later, so that because we have a guide of the car here, what my goal will be then is to create the height as the same, so that when I come to carving it, so we are about 3/4 of an inch short in terms of the height here. This is right, because if we carve this down, this will be fine, but we need to kind of lift the roof of the car a little bit, and that is what I am aiming to do. So we'll leave this to set. Denai says, I'm attempting Italian buttercream today, so I'll be in and out of the chat. That is fine, Denai. Good luck with that. Italian buttercream, it's extremely professional. Great buttercream to make, but if you get it right, it is a great type of buttercream to kind of harness into your business. So good luck with that. If you need help, just let us know. Also, like I was saying earlier in the community post concerning the video and the price guide, I was quite surprised by how much time it required to make the buttercream, the cupcakes. Because when you do it all the time, you kind of have a sense of what it should be, but sometimes you kind of don't know for sure as well, because time has passed. So did I think baking a batch of 24 cupcakes would be an hour? I thought so. I always thought it would be an hour, 15 minutes. What I didn't realize was how quickly I worked. And you know what? I would say the 47 minutes derived for the entire time from prep to finish, and the precision I applied. I wasn't under pressure at all, because I realized that some cake makers, especially when you're looking at the comment section of other creators, cake makers put themselves in the space where they are trying their hardest to kind of break barriers just to save the customer money. And I think the subject of pricing is something I'll come back another day, and then we can discuss it in detail, so that you can see where the problem starts and where you fit, and then you can adjust accordingly. Because like I've always said, the subject of pricing draws a lot of conversation from both sides. I have always said the conversation has to be ongoing in a healthy way. What I am not against and will not contribute to is the conversation that actually enables pile-ons on other people. It is not, I don't believe any cake maker, however they price their cakes, I don't think the intention is to rip people off. In fact, the opposite is true. If you intentionally price your cakes less than they should be, just so that you can see yourself selling a cake, you will not be successful. And it's that simple. You will not. You will burn out, you will get tired, and you won't be remunerated enough. So unless you have a type of effective business plan that somehow makes your prices reasonable, which is possible. Like I have always said, the reason why I don't engage in that conversation is that people forget how personalized business plan and business objectives are. People forget, because at the moment, I work as a custom cake maker, which means the cake is made for purpose. It's made to fit a person. But if I turn that around and I decided to become a home-based bakery style business, the cake prices will definitely come down, and that will be by intention. You know why? Because then I have to invest in more cake pans and cake tins and cake trays, if you like. And so suddenly production time is cut depending on how you optimize that goal. I have what? Essentially 3 mixers to hand. I have a commercial style refrigerator that can take quite a volume of cakes that are pre-baked with buttercream done in advance. I have a commercial style oven here that bakes 48 cupcakes, like as in if I set them on each tray, up to 48 cupcakes for a batch. And cupcakes bake for 20 minutes, if you like. In the commercial style oven, they bake for 18. So imagine if I had a massive order of, let's say, 200 cupcakes and 48 per batch. I only need under an hour and 200 cupcakes are baked. I can bake 24 from one batch of mixer. And that's not the full volume of the mixer, if you like. So my point is, people forget the prices of cakes. Essentially, that is, if you're doing it properly, it's very, very personalized and it's very niche to each individual. So the conversation about how somebody should price their cakes and the envy and negative subjects around it is just like, it doesn't do anything. If anything, it just goes to show how insecure sometimes we are as business owners and as people. There is no reason why you should put your fellow person down. And if you feel like they are not charging right, maybe you need to engage with them and understand where they are coming from, what influences their prices, and hope that as they go along, they will feel stronger enough and confident enough. Because at the end of the day, the subject of money, even in business, is still uncomfortable for people. You want to ask me that? It took me a long time. Part of what has built my confidence in being able to stand in the discomfort of pricing has come from growth and time. It just didn't happen. If I showed you some of the cakes that I priced for £40 or £50 when I started, but those prices were very intentional. I think when I started baking, I always was sure that I wanted to make something out of it. And I just didn't feel like I wanted to make a polished cake for £50 for a long time. So even when I was underpricing, it was very targeted. I was targeting a specific group of people and for a certain period, just so that I can get my name out. And once that was done and I set my charges up to what I thought should be charged, I lost a lot of the loyal customers from the start who were wanting a cake for a specific price. I lost a lot of them. But you know what is also true? I don't have the dealings of people who are demanding and very rude, because let me tell you something today. The people who will show up wanting £70 cake or a lowly priced cake are the people who will demand most of your time. Believe me, they are the people who will text you every minute wanting updates on the cake. They are the people who will shout at you because you are not responding to them, because they fit into a certain sort of description and character type. And if someone is paying, let's say, an X amount, say premium price for a specific cake, you know what? They are not paying you for the price. They're paying you for the skill. So the confidence they have in you to give you that money means that they do not care to chase you up. And come the day, you will execute and you will feel better. The difference, though, is to be able to bridge the gap in understanding that when you go down the route of pricing your cake prices premium, there are going to be days where your kitchen is not busy. Okay, there are going to be days you'll have to accept the income will not be consistent. And so being booked and busy is not the flex it's supposed to be when you were doing it at your own disservice. That's all. If you've been here before earlier, I was saying I like the summer, but I don't like the flies that come with it, because I can't open my window. I opened the kitchen window this morning, and because there is there's a garden, like, and then suddenly there's a fly here and the fly is doing my head in. I can't. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, okay, so the conversation about the Italian buttercream. Okay, Auntie Jackie was asking about the Italian buttercream, and it's supposed to be stable. Then I would say this is just for context and clarity. If you've been here long enough, I have said the word stable can be misinforming and misrepresented when it comes to baking. Just because it is stable doesn't mean it will guarantee stability of your cake in certain weather conditions. So be clear on your objective. Is it a great is it a great type of buttercream? Yes, it is. In terms of all the, let's say, the 7 to 8 standard buttercreams we know, because any other buttercream out of the core umbrella of 7 buttercream types that we have, which is Italian, Swiss, American buttercream, German, ermine frosting, cream cheese, and what's the last one? Russian. I've named 7, right? Out of these are the core 7, because each one of them is different in its way. Any other buttercream, as in Indian buttercream and whatever else that comes outside of the core 6 or 7, it's a variation of one of the main types, okay? So for that reason, when I'm rating buttercream, I am rating them on the primary 6 or 7 buttercream types that we can categorize. And on that basis, when people are misleadingly sold the idea that because a buttercream type is stable, everyone flocks there. When you're comparing Italian buttercream to all the other buttercream out of the 6 or 7, it rates the most stable. Simple reason being because of the technique and process it is derived. The science supports a stable buttercream that doesn't fall apart easily, that doesn't melt, and all the other things. However, if your intention is to find a buttercream type that will stay solid and stable in warm weather conditions, it will still not be Italian buttercream. In fact, I always say there is no such buttercream that will guarantee success up until a certain temperature. The simple reason being, buttercream is reliant on butter, okay, generally, unless you are using some form of butter and hydrogenated fat, like say Trex or the American equivalents, which is Crisco. Then the Crisco brings balance in terms of how the heat will affect the buttercream, because Crisco has a higher melting point compared to butter. So Crisco becomes very stable. So if you mix it, then yes. But if you do go for the mixed option just for stability, you are compromising taste and eating experience. That's something to note. But then you have to choose your battles. So I say that to say, if your overall intention is to go for Italian buttercream as a type of buttercream just for its stability, the stability in the 3-day summer heat in the UK will still fail to a certain point, if you know what I'm saying. And also, as a beginner, it is good to have that in your repertoire, because if your goal is to grow and succeed, then yes, the hard part is for you to kind of have some of the hard work done in your repertoire and keep it, right? But as you are going along as a beginner baker, the amount of time and effort it's going to take to derive Italian buttercream will not be worth the effort, especially if you are having to trade selling your cakes like reasonably affordable just so that you can get your name and customers out. Because you'll find that eventually when you make it up the ladder, for instance, I like Italian buttercream, but I don't make it. Even for my wedding cakes and premium customers, I don't, because it's too much time and effort. you know. And so I settle for what? Swiss meringue buttercream. But even so, I'll tell you, I love the people who like mock Swiss meringue buttercream because it cuts the time and it's effortless. And I have said the reason why I like Swiss meringue buttercream is just out of preference. But if I was looking for efficiency and production quality without compromising on value, it will be the mock Swiss meringue because it's so good enough. That's all. Auntie Jackie is back. We were talking about the Italian buttercream over there, but yes, that. But then consider this as just my unsolicited opinion, if you like. All right, but go and get it done and put it in your repertoire, because understanding all the buttercream types, especially when you're starting, will become very important to you in your journey, because then you can kind of make choices based on. Because sometimes if you have the experience and you know how to achieve a certain outcome, when you're faced with a challenge of having to adapt, your decision making becomes very easy. Whereas if you don't have that to hand, say if you don't know about Italian buttercream, you've never done it, and you don't know what it is, and you have the choice of a cake that may benefit from it, then what would you do then? It's no good trying to learn it then, you know. So yeah, it's a good place to start. Dolly says, I love mock Swiss meringue buttercream. You know what? I've tried it all here, right? There is like very, very noticeable differences, and the science of it supports the best outcome being if you go for the traditional Swiss meringue buttercream. But if you're a business, right, for what I'm saying is the cons, if you compare the cons of mock to traditional Swiss buttercream, as in raw Swiss meringue buttercream, it's really not. I would go for mock if I wasn't the reason why I like traditional Swiss meringue buttercream, I've said it's not based on anything except for the preference. Like, I'm like, going to get pasteurized eggs, I don't trust it. So it's a me thing. But if I didn't have that to worry about, I will make mock Swiss meringue buttercream. Because yes, the science supports your traditional one, as in make the real thing, because it will whip better, the butter tastes better, and all of these things. But it still doesn't mean mock is bad, okay? I would go for mock, but I'm looking at the pasteurized eggs and I'm scratching my head and like, so it's a me thing. But for efficiency and time management and everything else in between, I would go for mock. I think Dawn is asking what color is the Christian Dior. Some of us don't own a Christian Dior, so we don't know what color it is. What color is it? Is it supposed to be a one block color? Is it a black? Is it a red? What are we on about? Okay, if you look for that, Dana says, I want to try Swiss meringue buttercream next. Yep. Try the mock to start with. But if you complete Italian buttercream, you will not like be scared of Swiss meringue buttercream using egg white, because it's the same process except you cook the sugar and egg white. So, yep, you can get all of that in your repertoire. And don't forget to take notes on the timing. That will become important. Dolly was saying, okay, if you look for the bag, you will see it in different designs. But one, okay, so you're doing one of that and you've printed the design on icing sheet. Oh, okay, right. So that will be your guide. They are very beautiful bags, though. What is it? Is it Dior bag cake? Let's see. Oh. Anyway, people, the phone has died because it's not charging, I don't think, is it? Was it? Well, that was supposed to be the secondary phone, right? Let's see. Your back sounds exciting. I just want to make sure that we don't get cut off, because last time oh God. Right, I was supposed to put this away. Well, good people, your girl needs to clean up, tidy up, and maybe we'll continue our car cake tomorrow, okay? If you have questions, put them in the chat, because you know we'll come back on we'll come back on a chatty session some other time to catch up properly. But for now, let's see you on the next one. I think my phone is playing up. I've got to go. I'll see you soon. Bye.